me get myself together. Good evening, lovely spirits. It's the wise servant here, Mr. Solace. Now, today, I want to do this video discussing holy mountains in God. Because as y'all know, all mountains on earth are deemed holy by some nation of people. And it goes along with their religion and their God. So in India, they have mountains and they deem them as holy. And they go along with their religion and their God. Same with over in Syria and Lebanon. You got a whole bunch of mountain ranges and they're deemed holy. And they're significant and sacred to God. Same with China and anywhere else you can name that has mountains. They're significant and holy. And they have to do with God. So in a nutshell, God is always in the sky, which is heaven, or on a mountaintop, or in a mountain, according to most texts. Now I want y'all to grasp something because I'm going to give y'all a few examples. Moses. When Moses was dealing with God and he had to get the 10 Commandments, where did he go? To Mount Sinai. So God was significant with that mountain when dealing with Moses and the 10 Commandments. Now, you can even go to Abraham. When God told Abraham to sacrifice his son, he didn't just do it in the backyard, but he went to the top of Mount Moriah to do it. So in any text you pretty much read, God correlates with mountains and mountain tops. And it's a deep thing you have to grasp. When you're dealing with the fallen angels, or the Nephilim, they supposedly descended on top of a mountain. Mount Hermon, I believe. Now, when you're dealing with any text that is speaking about giants, because the Nephilim, or the fallen angels, were supposedly giant white albino beings. I have 2-3 videos on this. Go back and get an understanding. But the fallen angels were always deemed as tall, white albinos. Now, when you're dealing with any text that's dealing with history and discoveries, they find large bones of giant men all over the world. And they always find them in mountains and caves. So I say that so that you can fully understand. Not only does religious texts say that the fallen angels or the giant beings descended onto a mountaintop and dwelled in mountains, but this is where we find giant bones today, in mountains and caves. So you have to grasp, it's a deep thing. Now those ancient giants, according to the Bible, they ruled over us until men didn't like it no more and they began to slay the giants. I broke all this down through the Bible because it's the religion of this land, so everyone's familiar with that. But all the holy texts or the religious texts they're all similar. But I'm not just biased to that one. I just use that one because everyone's familiar. Everyone knows who Moses is. Everyone doesn't know who Muhammad is. They heard it, but they don't know. Not in America. So it's just a real thing. But the giants were always viewed as gods in the ancient past because they taught men sacred knowledge of things they didn't know. Now, in my prior videos on this topic, I basically broke down how white men are the remnants, the descendants, but the remnants of those ancient giants from the past. And it's a deep thing I want y'all to understand. Because we worship white men ancestors. See, when we praise God and all these gods and we do all of this kind of talk and we say, oh Lord, this is white men gods and things like this. And it's a deep thing you have to grasp, because when you deal with white men's history like Greek and Norse, they have gods and lords. But when you deal with other people's history, they didn't have nothing about gods and lords in their text or their wisdom. They never heard of that till white people came into play. So you have to grasp, it's a deep thing. All the gods that we worship, the gods, the lords, we worshiping white people's ancestors, which are these giant beings. And it's a deep thing. This is why they put gods and lords into all civilizations that they encountered. Because those gods and lords are their real life ancestors from millennia ago. And it's a deep thing y'all have to grasp. We're worshiping white people's ancestors. Not ours, but theirs. So in Africa, you have Africans that believe in Jesus Christ and God. Jesus Christ is the Son of God. But forget Jesus. They believe in God. And they're Christian. Now I want you to grasp. This is God. When you hear gods and lords, this is white men history. In their wordings. No one else used those words ever. So you have to grasp, when the African believes in God, he's basically worshiping the ancestors of white people, as opposed to worshiping his own. And this is how the whole world has been tricked. Just like in the past, the whole world was tricked, because the giants had men believing they were gods over them. And they were wiser in knowledge, but that's not to say it's a good thing, because the more civilized you become, the more disconnected you become also from reality. And then you basically have a world full of stone and cement. This is not good for life producing what is needed to be sustained, like fruits, vegetables. This is why we have GMOs. Because it's a shortage. Why is it a shortage? Because we got concrete everywhere. Where you gonna grow something at? Ain't that much room. They chopped all the trees down that was producing fruit. Ignorant and not knowing. Because all they're concerned with is building cities and being civilized. So trees is getting chopped, forgetting that we need to eat. So it's a deep thing. Smart ain't always that smart, especially when you're talking technology and civilization. But the ancient giants ruled over men as gods because of this reason. And this is when men begin to get lost from their way and their ancestry. And they begin to speak gods and lords, mixing and mingling in with their history. So it's a deep thing I want y'all to grasp. When you go to ancient cultures like African, or let's say Kim, before all the buildings and structures and all the what we call the deep wisdom and the ancient Kemetic, and before all of that, they worshiped the animals in Ma'at, which is the order and balance of the life. And they understood that, and they moved in that order. They gave reverence to the animals, the trees, the vegetation, every aspect of the life. They seen the qualities in what it benefited the life, how it benefited the life and added its piece to it. So they were more into the worship of that. This was like before the Amun times, because you got like the Amun times where they believed in Amun, then Aten. So it just, the transition of the people that they're encountering are altering them from their history and their knowledge are mingling it. Words like gods and lords, they didn't speak in this nature nowhere in Africa. Nobody said gods and lords in Africa. What was that? They spoke of ancestry, spiritual ancestry. And it's the same thing that we're doing now, except we're worshiping others' ancestry, which is white people's. And their ancestors are the ancient giants who supposedly roamed this earth. And it's the same with Native America. Before white men got here, they didn't speak of gods and lords. That was not in their beliefs. They didn't even hear of that before. They didn't understand that. There was no dominion in the life to them. Everything in the life was equal. Everything balanced everything out. You had chiefs, but they weren't rulers and kings. This is why you didn't hear kings. We didn't do that. It's a deep thing y'all gotta grasp. They didn't do that. They dealt chiefs because they were elders. So they had more experience in the life because they've been here longer. But they didn't have nothing to dominating or ruling over in the life. And they moved in that order. They had animal and life tribes like Wolf Clan, Bear Clan, Coon Clan. Coon is short for raccoon. So when you hear brothers say, oh, this brother's a coon, or they ignorant in knowing that that was an actual Native American clan called the Coon Clan. And if a white man called a black person a coon, he was just basically calling them what they were. But whatever a white man called you in them times was disrespectful. So if he said, hey boy, he may not have meant nothing by it. We call each other boys today. Like, what up, my boy? But we love each other. You know what I mean. And them times, they was treating us like shit. So you don't, whatever they said, you like, man, that's disrespectful. So that's how that got twisted. But the Native Americans, man, they had wolf clans, bear clans, coon clans, coyote clans, and they lived in the way of these animals and things like this. It's a deep thing you gotta grasp. I did a video breaking down Native American history. But the point I'm making is they never heard gods and lords until Christopher Columbus, and that whole movement happened. Now, today we like, oh, gods and lords, and it's a deep thing. Same with India. When you're dealing with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, they never had lords and gods attached to that. It wasn't God Brahma and Lord Vishnu to them until white people interacted with their nation and their culture. Then it became Lord Shiva and God Brahma and all this weird stuff. If you look at Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, it is complete balance. Yet you know that God is a dominating or ruling over thing. So that right there should show you that the God and Lord really doesn't match with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So it's like they just merged the words in. It's a translation thing. Ancient Indian transcript was translated over into the white people languages, Greek and Norse. Next thing you know, it's translated back into Indian because they done took over the land, and this is how that happens. Retranslating things back and forth so much that next thing you know, it becomes Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu and all this crazy stuff. But you gotta grasp, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva was just complete balance. Brahma was the masculine energies, the thought, the order, and Shiva's the feminine energies, which is the emotions and chaos and all of that all balled in one, and together you get Vishnu. Beautiful existence. But you know, eventually the female or feminine energies take over, which is Shiva. But it's cool because then it leads back to Brahma. But this all had to do with order and flow, like Ma'at. It was a order of the life type of thing. It had nothing to do with gods and Lord. So you have to grasp, it's a deep thing. It wasn't until white people came into the mix where all of this changed. Now, I'm sorry, I had to take a little swig. Now, when you're dealing with ancient times, Each place you see with pyramid cities, they were governed by the giants. And it's a deep thing you have to grasp when you see like ancient Kim and you see the pyramids and all that there. And you see pyramids all in China and here in America and Mexico and all these pyramid cities. But they're old. Now you have to grasp, you can't carbon date stone. So when they try to tell you, oh, the pyramids was built in, complete lie. You cannot carbon date stone. There's no getting around that. I don't care what they tell you. You can't carbon date stone. If you can't carbon date stone, they have no clue when any pyramid city that they've come across was built. And it's a tricky thing with carbon dating. It's a fluky thing. I'm going to break that down in another video. But it's a scientific fact you can't carbon date stone. All the pyramid cities were built in stone. So that should give you a half a brain to know that if they said the pyramids was built 5,000 years ago, they made that up. If they said the Mexican pyramids were built around the time of the Aztecs or the Mayans, they're lying. Trust me, you can't carbon date stone. So it's a deep thing you have to grasp. But when you see those cities, they were governed by the ancient giants. Meaning the whole city wasn't just giants. You had regular men mingled in with the giants, learning their ways and basically being the slaves of the cities or the workers. Like how we work today, and then you have those that govern the city that really don't do nothing but tax us for our work and give us back pennies. So the same thing. You had the giants governing the cities, and then you had regular men working in the cities, feeling special because they felt like, oh, we live in the city of God and we're right next to him, dwelling with him. Then you had people like the Hebrew Israelites who was like, fuck all that. Them giants are the devil. Not literally. They probably thought it, but they literally wasn't. They were just beings from somewhere else. But whatever the case may be, they like, oh, they the devil, so they stayed away from them. But it's a deep thing you have to grasp, man. When you're dealing with that, you're dealing with geometry and masonry and math and things like this. This was the giants thing. Men didn't need these things. Men lived like the animals. Not to say we lived uncivilized, but to say we were one with the planet. So we didn't need things like building with stone and taking away from the life, because that's where we ate. So the whole world being a forest was a good thing for us back in the past. This is why when the white people came to America in the past, they had like little huts. They did have some homes built, but very few. And if it was in the forest, because they understood this is the food. This is the supermarket. So why am I going to build 1,000 houses right on top of my supermarket? So this was the way they lived. You didn't buy and sell things. Everyone gave and received, as opposed to everybody selling every little thing like we do to one another. It was simple. Just give and receive. Whatever we got, we give it to y'all. Y'all got some stuff over there. Give it to us. Whatever. This is all produced by Earth, so no one's losing nothing. It's gonna come back around when the season come in. So nobody had a selfish, stupid mind. This is that ancient giant shit in their remnants, which is white people. And it's the same as you see it today. Every major town or city is governed by white people. Are there the remnants of the giants? The white people are the remnants of the giants that were written about in all ancient texts. Like Jack and the Beanstalk. Jack was black, or a dark-skinned person. A person of color, whether he was Indian, Australian Aborigine, African, a native, whatever he was, whatever nationality you name, they were dark-skinned before they were ever white. So you have to grasp. Jack and the Beanstalk was a little kid story way of telling about the trials and tribulations that men had with these giant beings. And it's a deep thing because it's the same thing repeating itself over history and history, non-stop. They're no longer giants, they're white people. Now, white people know ain't nobody gonna believe, oh, they God. Ain't nobody gonna wanna hear that. But it's okay because we'll believe in their ancestors as gods. Not even realizing those are their ancestors. You don't even realize when you're a Christian, this book and this religion is white people's history and their stories of their interactions with people over in Middle East and Africa. Now don't get lost and say, oh, the Hebrew Bible was about, yeah, the Hebrew Bible was about the Hebrew people who lived and dwelled all in the Africans and Middle Eastern parts of the land. But the book is about the giants ruling those areas and the Israelites fighting them, trying to get their cities because they were basically homeless. So it's a deep thing. David and Goliath. He slayed Goliath. They took over the city. Moses slayed Og. They took over the cities. It's all in the Bible. So you have to grasp. This is why that was happening. They were pretty much ruling everything. The same way you see it today. And people just completely ignorant of it because they like, no, God gonna give me my salvation in the next life. Not even realizing that you're worshiping someone else's ancestors. Their ancestors can't do nothing for you in real life. You got to get back into your ancestry in the cosmic order. Because that's where the truth lies. And it doesn't matter if you're Indian, if you're African, if you're Native American, if you're Chinese. It doesn't matter what you are. Because before you had white people in your nationality, meaning white-skinned people like you, everyone was dark-skinned. And y'all believed in the same things, whether it was African Indian. They believed in the life, in every aspect of the life, in the order of that. Not just this physical life, but the entirety of the life, from macro to micro. So it's a deep thing you gotta grasp. And the next thing you know, giants interfered. Over time, mixing and mingling, they just became, instead of being white albino giants, they just became white people. Regular white men size. And it's a deep thing you have to grasp. It's just like obesity. Let me take a swig. It's just like obesity. This was deemed as a sign that a person had the DNA of a giant or Nephilim. This is how they viewed that in the past. Because men are not supposed to get fat. I don't care how much you eat or whatever you do. You're not supposed to get fat according to your genetic makeup. Just like animals. You've never seen an animal in the wild fat as fuck, struggling to get along. You never seen a fat lion struggling to catch. You never seen that. You never seen a fat ass gazelle struggling to get away. Now, yes, some lions are bigger than others, some have more girth than others, some have more muscles, but you never seen a fat lion or any fat animal in the jungle, unless being fat like an elephant is a part of their makeup and they're not truly fat. That's just their makeup. They're big, they're enormous. But people, men, it's not in our genetic makeup to get obese. That is a sign of giantism. Sign of the ancient past, the genetic makeup. It's like the sumo wrestling guys in China or Japan, wherever they come from. They would have been looked upon as ancient descendants of the Nephilim or the ancient giants. They would have been looked at as their descendants. White skin, straight hair, bigger than a motherfucker. Pardon my language, I'm sorry, I'm truly working on that. But they would have been big. And you have to grasp. Being a giant didn't necessarily have to do with you being tall. You could have just been fat, obese. And they would have deemed you as, yo, he had descended. Because y'all have to grasp the sumo wrestlers are like 6'5", 500, 600 pounds. They don't be short. I know y'all might have seen sumo wrestling on TV, but in real life, them brothers is like basketball player height. It's a deep thing. Men are not supposed to get fat. It's not in your makeup. You doodle. You release all of that. You sweat. You piss. You release the fluids. You release the food. The nutrients and protein is held. But all that is released. So why are you gaining weight? Becoming fat and obese? Because of that DNA mingle. They don't know how it's going to work. When the Nephilim of the giants of the past mixed and mingled with man, they didn't know how it was going to work. I'm sorry. When they mixed and mingled, they didn't know how that was going to work and say, oh, this one's going to come out a giant. Some came out real tall. Some came out real fat. Or grew up to be real fat. Some grew up to be real tall. Men of the earth weren't like that. Fat or real tall. So this is how you knew. Some was just weirded out. Over time, you know, they get more men-like. At the same time, men pick up traits of them. So it just become a blended thing where white people just a part of the society, but everybody's like, where did they come from? People start getting hip, like, hold on, when I dig into my ancestry, everybody was dark-skinned. Chinese people, they dig into their ancestry, they're like, damn, we was kind of dark. Our hair was kind of fuzzy. What happened? So people start getting hip, and they like, where white people come from? They the only people that's white. You got many different nationalities of people. Indians, Africans, Native Americans, Jamaicans, all types of people. How they start getting light? But if you look now, you only got one white people. Just one. How that happen? So people get hip. They begin to start to realize, hold on, something happened. And that's where I come in and break it down. No, they the ancient giants of the past. The bones and things they find, it's just their ancestors. It's a deep thing. They want everybody's minds on this gods and lords things, keep y'all trapped in, because they know their ancestors, the giants, they ruled over mankind as gods and lords, and they believed it because they were huge. It was believable to them when they seen it. Now, if white people came and said, oh, we're the descendants of them and we're truly your gods, worship us, we would kill them because we like, man, y'all don't look that godly to us. So you have to grasp. You just worship their ancestors. They like, yeah, just worship our ancestors. But they don't tell you they're their ancestors, but they like, yeah, just worship our ancestors, and through that, we'll still control this world, because as long as y'all believe in that, then y'all just live how y'all live, and y'all the many and y'all don't have shit. We're the few, we have everything, and y'all just work and slave like they did in the past, thinking this is the way. Mind you, life didn't give nobody paperwork to say, hey, you can rule everybody in life, you're good to go. Grasp that. Get some understandings from your main man Solace. I teach the sperm is the spirit. I teach ancient science. I teach ancient scholarship. Better understandings of what's being written. I teach science from a perspective that makes more sense. And I basically teach the true way in order that men are supposed to live with the life. And what is truly supreme, although it doesn't desire any one. So it's a deep thing you have to grasp, but we'll get into all of that. These are the things I teach. Balance and humble yourself out, because it's a deep thing. We got to stop listening so much and hearing and actually taking action with the knowledge that we hear. Now, I'm not saying we need to attack white people. It's not their fault what happened. They're just the ancestors of this thing. And it goes deeper than Christopher Columbus. It goes all the way back in the eons time. But it is what it is. But order and balance must be brought back to the earth. We're the descendants of the earth. And this place is ours, not theirs. It's a deep thing. Shemaine Mansalis.